Man, I gotta say, this Viscera cleanup detail movie falls into the category of a lot of other video game adaptations. There's one scene that's about it, but the rest has nothing to do with it. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Hello everybody, pause the video and grab a drink. It's me, Alcatraz Gamer, here with another movie review for you guys. I just watched this today, It. And what did I think of It, personally? Well, they did it, guys. Hollywood actually made a remake of a cult classic horror film that was better than its predecessor, which can be very rare nowadays. I really enjoyed this film, I must say, and I'll get into why I liked it in just a second here, without jumping into spoiler territory or anything, so don't worry, no spoilers here. So, if you're a fan of horror movies or you know a lot about movie tropes, then you know that a lot of the time, main characters in a horror movie are not always very interesting or likable, and for the most part are just there to be killed off. But thankfully, this movie breaks away from that trend, and the characters in this movie are actually very likable and enjoyable. I liked every single one of the main characters in this movie, which is really important in a horror movie, because then when all the scary shit goes down, like, you care about them and want to root for them to get out of these terrible situations. So, huge props to the child actors in this movie. They are very, very good. All across the board, really good acting. Now that we've talked about the kid actors, let's talk about Pennywise for a minute. A lot of people really enjoyed Tim Curry's performance as Pennywise in the 90s miniseries. I do this because, yes, it was a miniseries that aired on TV, but the way I ended up watching it was on a DVD on my TV. So, it's basically a movie in my eyes. And I do agree, Tim Curry's performance in that was easily the best thing about that miniseries. He just stole every scene he was in. But this Pennywise by Bill Skarsgård plays Pennywise in this movie, and I really think he brought a different take on the character, and I really enjoyed this version of Pennywise a bit more because he really was able to like make you feel like something was off about him. Like he just had a vibe that was like unsettling. And I also really liked Bill Skarsgård's voice for Pennywise, because the old Tim Curry Pennywise, he just kind of sounded like a normal clown. Now that I think about it, probably what Tim Curry sounds like most of the time. Um, he just had that normal clown voice, you know. I don't even know if that's what it is.
Very wise of your dad, Georgie. Very wise indeed.
I don't remember his voice very well, but that's what I remember him talking like. But this Pennywise, if you show me a picture of him, I know what his voice sounds like, and I remember it because it was a very like a winded, like raspy, giggly. It's hard to explain, but like kind of squeaky kind of voice, and it really was a special of this actor's portrayal of the character. Because, you know, he kind of talks like this.
Oh, well, I'm Pennywise the Dancing Clown.
You know, like, so he's got, like, his own kind of voice going on that, like, you can remember. Now let's talk about the effects and the CGI in this movie. They were fairly good. Some of them looked very good and real. Like a certain scene I won't get into much except refrigerator. And some of them were not the best, and you could really tell that it was fake, and it kind of pulled you out a little bit, but I kind of expected for some of the effects to not be that great. And when they try to do some of the stuff that they try to do in this movie, um, it will get a little off in moments, because technology with CG is great and all nowadays, but when you try and do certain things, like, it's not gonna look natural, whether it's well detailed or not. Like, if you didn't know already, Pennywise has, like, these rows of sharp teeth, because he's not actually a clown, if you didn't know. He's, like, I think it's either an interdimensional being or a demon, one of the two. And in this movie, like, he pulls back his face to, like, show these sharp teeth, which the teeth themselves and, like, the gums and stuff, that looked all fine, but his face stretching when he does that is a little off-putting and doesn't look that great. Before I actually wrote this, I am reading a guideline, a script basically here that I wrote before I filmed this. Before I did this, I was watching some other YouTubers' reviews, like Jeremy Johns, a Nostalgia Critic, Angry Joe, to see all their opinions on this movie before I got into it and shared my opinion. And I noticed a lot of people really enjoyed it, but there were a couple people in particular who, just like one or two people, would be like they did not like this movie. And I think after listening to their arguments and stuff like that, I think I know what it is. I figured I'd share this if you end up being one of these people. So if you don't like Stephen King movies, you probably won't like this. This probably has a lot of things that you've seen a million times in a million other Stephen King movies. And if you're like really picky about like how pacing and like tone of a movie go, or if you're like easily like triggered basically by CGI, like you can tell when it's fake and like, oh, that looks awful, even though an average moviegoer would, or not moviegoer at all, just someone watching the movie to watch it, wouldn't notice. If you get bothered by that, then you might not like this film. But other than that, I don't see that much of a reason to hate on this film. Some people who are picky about like pacing might say that the kid's making jokes despite like nearly dying a few minutes ago is a little off-putting, and it's not necessarily good pacing. But my counter argument is they need to develop these kids a good amount to keep them likable and interesting, and part of being likable and interesting, because you're a human being, is humor. And the humor in this movie is done really well, and giving them a good sense of humor helps you connect with the characters more, because you would, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you would be cracking jokes after almost dying, but people crack jokes a lot, and so that makes them more realistic and relatable. Not to mention, both the humor and the scares in this movie are both done really well. The humor is good. I was chuckling at a few scenes. When the parts were supposed to be scary, they were legitimately freaky. Now, of course, since this is a horror movie, there's obviously going to be stuff like jump scares, and I like how this movie plays with jump scares. They're not like traditional, like, boo, something jumps and then the jump scare's over. It's like, it sets up a jump scare. The scary thing happens, but it's weird. You have to watch the movie, but there's a scene where a kid's in a sewer and there's a balloon in the sewer with him. That scene is what I'm talking about. Like, it plays it differently. And me personally, when jump scares happen, especially in a theater, I'll jump, but even if I know if they're coming. Even if I know they're coming and I know it's like either not scary or scary, it makes me jump just a little bit sometimes. But one jump scare in this movie in particular actually caught me off guard and actually scared me. I don't know why I didn't expect that and why it got me, but it did. And I won't spoil which scene that is, in case it actually scares you, because it made me, it got me. I did not expect that. And about the humor thing, I will admit some of the things Pennywise does while he's like terrorizing the kids and stuff. That like some of the things he does, like they're supposed to be scary, but a couple of things he does I just found really funny. Like I was giggling at them. Like I don't know how much I want to spoil, but I'll just say he may or may not do a dance scene, a short dance scene at the end, and I think it was supposed to be scary, and I thought it was just funny. I won't say any more than that. I still had a great time watching the movie. Like I was on the edge of my seat, even though I was in a recliner. I was tense. Heart was racing and all that. You know how like the best way I can describe these scary parts when there's tense parts, because it's not too much as like scary as it is like tense and very just intense. It's like when you play Outlast 2. If any of you played Outlast 2, I personally didn't enjoy it that much because the parts in the farm were like, eh. Like, I didn't like the setting. It was, anyways, that's a different topic for a different day. But when you're in the school in Outlast 2 and it's actually nerve-wracking, it's like that. That's how I would describe the scary parts in this movie. And they're done really well, and the humor is done really well. But if you just don't like this movie, like if you watch this movie, you just don't like it, that's fine too, because you're allowed to have your own opinion, and this is my opinion. And my opinion is that I think this is a great film, and I would definitely recommend it to any fan of horror movies or any Stephen King fans. I would recommend this to. And I'd say I'd have to give this movie a solid 9 out of 10. Great performances, great scares, great humor. I'd give it a watch if you're interested. So, that is my thoughts and take and review and whatnot on it. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you want. It's your option. Your computer. You're on the site. You're allowed to do whatever you want. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all later.